What is up, you guys? It is Zach coming at you with another video. Now, today, we're going to be talking about that state of play that just happened yesterday, but particularly, we're only going to be talking about the two main games from that showcase that I was actually interested in. And we're going full-on horror today, baby. We're talking spooks, we're talking scares, we're talking the unknown and the supernatural. That's the route we're going down today, so if you enjoy this video, definitely make sure to drop a like and subscribe down below, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of whenever I upload videos. I want to talk a lot more about these games this year because there's a lot of excitement for me going up to these games' launches, and I'm very excited for them, and we're going to get into that right now. Let's start off with the Big Daddy, the one that got a lot of showtime yesterday because of the fact that not only was it in the state of play, but it got its own dedicated presentation, and that is Silent Hill 2. Now, I am recording this fresh off of watching, the state of play and the Silent Hill transmission. Like, I am fresh off of watching that. So, I don't know what the internet is saying about this game because, honestly, a lot of people were skeptical and nervous and still kind of are. I just talked to my buddy Alec a little bit and he's still not convinced. I think I am convinced. Now look, I can tell that this game is a definite departure from Silent Hill 2, the original. It's changing up a lot, it's reimagining a lot of things, and that's kind of what I'm calling this game, Silent Hill 2, the reimagining, because it kind of feels like what it is. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of the reimagining and a lot of the things that they're doing that differentiates it from the original game is a lot of things that have to do with modernizing it. Because I haven't played Silent Hill 2 in quite a few years, so my memory of the game isn't as great as I want it to be. I want to replay the game just to get my mindset and, remember the game a bit more. But if I'm not mistaken, I feel like the game is very old-fashioned, very old-school. It's something where if you just kind of did it again and remade it and did it, and yes, obviously you can fix up other things, but if you brought it back today, I don't know how well it would be received by fans. Like, I feel like people would complain that it stuck a little too close to what it did before. I feel like it did need a kind of fresh coat of paint, and I know that there are elements that still don't look amazing. This game requires a lot more combat than the original, I can tell that. Obviously, there's a new third-person camera, there's a lot of new things that they're adding in here, but I do feel like all of the new things they're adding are for the game's benefit. Starting off with the combat, I remember the combat in the original Silent Hill 2 wasn't all that amazing, but that was because you honestly were kind of, shooed away from going into combat. You didn't want to fight these enemies because of how limited your resources were and all of that. So I feel like they're leaning a little more into it here, and I think that's fine because here's the thing, right? People say that action takes away from horror, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I feel like where, action can take away from horror is if you're given an abundance of resources, like ammunition and indestructible weapons, and infinite stamina, whatever, that makes those encounters not only easy, but not threatening or terrifying. You could have a lot of action sequences where there are monsters coming at you left and right, but they're still scary because of the fact that you don't have ammunition. You aren't prepared for the fight. You have to figure out the best way to either stealth around them or how to take them down. It does cause tension and stress, and I feel like that's the main element of Silent Hill that they needed to recapture. When you go into Silent Hill 2, you're going into a place full of dread, and you're basically in your own world because of the fog in this town and just how separated you feel from society when playing this game. So I feel like giving you that sense of hopelessness by increasing the combat but still keeping your resources probably pretty dang low, at least what we could see from the gameplay trailer, I think that will still help the game not feel overly actiony and still will make the game feel scary. Then there's the camera, where the camera is now a third-person kind of deal. It's not like, a static kind of fixed camera point like I believe Silent Hill 2, the original, was. Now, I don't know how fans feel about this one. Honestly, I like the camera change. I like a more dynamic camera that you have a little more control over. Because static cameras can really, I mean, yes, they can add a little bit sometimes to the horror that you can only see in a certain range. But I do feel like giving you that freedom does help the game feel less unfair at times, and I just prefer it nowadays. And then, of course, you have facts like the soundtrack's being done by the same composer. He's rearranging some already existing music from Silent Hill 2, but also composing new pieces. So I'm personally pretty excited for this remake. The only thing that I'm still not quite sold on is I do feel like there are some spots in the game that do look kind of rough. When you get real close-up shots on some of the characters, they do look a little rough sometimes, and, you know, it just could look better. And then the frame rate as well, there were some areas where the frame rate really seemed to dip and it just kind of stuttered along. But the thing is that that's not like a gameplay issue. That's an issue that they could fix within the 4 months that they have until this game launches. Speaking of, the game got a release date, being October 8th. So, you know, it's going to be right around for the Halloween time, which makes sense. It's a spooky game, makes complete sense. But if you order, like, the digital deluxe edition, whatever, then you'll get to play it 2 days earlier, so that'll be October 6th. So, personally, I'm really excited for this game. I'm probably not going to get any of the deluxe editions because, for some reason, they're not doing anything physical. They're not giving you any statues or anything cool for a physical collector's edition. But, nevertheless, I still am really excited to hop into the world again of Silent Hill 2. Then, we have the game that I'm personally a little more excited for, and that is the Until Dawn remake. Now, we got a little bit here. Like, there wasn't too much given, but there was enough to give us, honestly, a bit of a taste for the direction I think they're going in with this game. Now, starting with the obvious point, the game looks really good. The character models look really good. Everything just looks so polished and so clean and so good. And I'm really excited to see it all in motion. I'm very excited. Next up, they actually did show off some new cutscenes, new things, new content that was not in the original Until Dawn. There were 2 particular scenes that I noticed that were not in the original Until Dawn game. The first and more obvious one was this shot where Beth and Hannah are bringing Josh to the couch of the house. Now, if you've played the original Until Dawn and you've played the prologue to the game, you'll know that in the prologue, Josh is just knocked out in the kitchen. He's passed out on the kitchen counter. But here, they seem to be bringing him to the couch, which makes me think that things are going to work a little bit differently in the prologue. This is corroborated by the fact of the second shot that we see that's a little easier to miss, which is this shot right here, where we see the murderer standing outside of the cabin, or what we think is the murderer, whatever. At first, I thought this was the scene where Mike and Jessica were in the cabin, whatever, but we actually do see Beth, who is hiding outside. Now, Beth never had any exploration scenes outside. She only did in the kitchen area of the cabin, the lodge. So, there's probably going to be more cutscenes with Beth and Hannah, which I do appreciate. We get to see a little more of their characters before, spoiler alert, they die. So, it'll be really nice to get a little more of their characters out. It'll make us feel a little more for their inevitable deaths. But, as I mentioned, I feel like all of this points to a completely different prologue. Maybe not completely different in the fact that all the friends still probably play the prank, Hannah and Beth probably still run out into the forest and then fall to their deaths, but I feel like the sequence of events going up to that point will probably be different. Something will require Beth to go outside. Josh, rather than passing out in the kitchen, will actually be brought to the couch by Hannah and Beth. Or maybe it's going to be a branching paths thing, where one choice will have Josh passed out on the kitchen counter, and then the other will have Hannah and Beth bringing him to the couch. There's so many questions I still have, and that actually really does make me excited, because if this does feel like a fresh and new experience within the same story of Until Dawn, that really excites me, because I love Until Dawn. It's one of my favorite games, so having a new, fresh version of it, even if I don't like it as much as the original, I still have the original that I can play at any point. So, I am really excited to see what this remake does. The only thing that we didn't quite get answered is if the Don't Move segments are returning. That's the only thing we really didn't see, the Don't Move segments. Oh, and lastly, visually, I actually did some looking from the original game's gameplay to the Remakes gameplay, and there are definitely differences that you can see between the two versions. Certain things, like when Mike scares Matt and Emily, the camera angling is completely different when Mike is bursting out with laughter. And I think this shot, when Sam and Ashley open up the little sewer gate that heads to the sanatorium, I believe that camera angle of them all looking down might have been different. I'm not too sure. Like, they've definitely changed up the camera angles, they've changed up the lighting and the colors. I feel like they still have some work to do, though. There is actually one scene in particular that I think looked better in the original Until Dawn as opposed to the remake, and that's the scene where Mike and Jessica are starting to get a little freaky with it. It's really bright in that scene for some reason, like you can see everything in the background. In the original game, the background was pretty blurred and is a bit darker. I don't know why they went for this change. I don't know, maybe it'll be like The Quarry, where there's different filters you can apply to make the game look differently depending on how you want it to look. I'm not sure, but overall, I am really excited for Until Dawn Remake. It's looking really good. This one did not get a release date, but it did get a release window of the fall of this year, so I'm assuming it'll probably come out in October time, September, October, sometime around there. And we'll have to wait for, probably like Summer Game Fest or something to learn a little bit more. So there you have it, you guys. That is all the stuff I got to say about Silent Hill 2 and Until Dawn, two great horror games coming back for the modern era. Well, more so Silent Hill coming back for the modern era. Until Dawn is still pretty modern, but nevertheless, what did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you all have to say, and if you enjoy this video, of course, like I said earlier, definitely do subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I upload videos. And until next time, you guys, I will see you all in the next video.